Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. The ride says it all. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha. Conquer Outdoors.
I don't know if I missed a memo or something, but I actually didn't realize 2017 was the 10th anniversary of Polaris's RZR. And if you think about it, the RZR is an iconic vehicle that changed the sport of ATV riding and side-by-side riding. I remember the very first RZR model that we had, the 800, it was 50 inches. I remember running around at our test track, hitting jumps with it. You know, every jump was something new, every jump was something crazy and unheard of. And it's actually almost mind-boggling how far that vehicle has come and how many versions of it Polaris has released over just a short 10-year span. There's no question that the Polaris RZR is the most popular sport side-by-side in the industry, and I think that that's for a very good reason. But when you look at the community that surrounds the RZR vehicle, it's almost a cult following. I mean, people are loyal. They're just so passionate about the vehicle. Of course, Polaris has really helped create this community by putting on events like Camp RZR. And if anybody watching doesn't know what Camp RZR is, it's basically a great big gathering that Polaris hosts, and it's for RZR owners. I mean, it's for anybody. You see a lot of people there with other vehicles, but mostly it's for people who have RZRs to get together and just experience their vehicle with one another. And the first few were hosted in Glamis, California. Then they had some on the East Coast in Tennessee, some overseas in the UAE and China, I think, even as well. So it's become an international event. And this year, Polaris, because it's the 10th year of RZR, they celebrated that at Camp RZR in Glamis. Of course, there's no way I was going to miss Camp RZR Glamis 10-year anniversary of RZR. I mean, that was something that you have to be at. It's like the Woodstock of side-by-sides. If there's one thing that Camp RZR embodies, it's that ATVing, side-by-side riding is more fun when experienced with friends. So in that spirit, I brought my friend and co-worker Vern with me. He wanted to see Camp RZR as well. I'd never been to Camp RZR Glamis. So it was a good match for the two of us to go down here and experience this incredible event. Flew into California, into San Diego, and we rented a motorhome and drove to Glamis. And that was going to be our base of operations for the weekend. Honestly, I was left speechless when I showed up. Polaris's Camp RZR event grounds was massive. It was the size of a small city. The number of people who actually registered was over 20,000 people.
Camp RZR, the RZR brand, means so much to us. So this is our chance to give back to our owners. Our owners are the ones who continue to inspire us, empower us, and motivate us to go to work every day to keep making better and better off-road vehicles. And so to be here with all of our partners in the industry and give back to them, it's just an incredible time. Every year it's grown year over year over year. And so for us to be out here, it's really grown a bond with our consumers and allowed us to learn a lot more from them and then just give back to them as well when they're here.
When the doors to the Camp RZR Village opened on Friday, and that's where the stage is, a lot of their vendors, there's partners, there's stuff to see and do. There's a kids zone. You can take your kids, let them ride around in little tiny electric RZRs, which is pretty awesome. They have a parking lot designated just for side-by-sides behind the actual Camp RZR Village. It was jam-packed full of everything from huge sand rails to obviously RZRs, dirt bikes, ATVs, you name it. Everything was parked in there. It was just mayhem for about the first hour and a half of people just pouring in.
You know, I think for a RZR owner to come to Camp RZR, there's lots of things that they get excited about. One is our awesome new demos that we have. We have the new DYNAMIX 4 machine out here today. It's the give backs that we do, and just an all-around good time.
Polaris had loaned us a just released RZR 4 XP 1000 Turbo DYNAMIX Edition. So we had this vehicle, this perfect dune running vehicle, and I said to the guys, let's just go out in the dunes and explore and do some riding. So that's what we did, and we spent a good amount of the day out there ripping around in the dunes. Until eventually we ended up at Oldsmobile Hill, which is a really famous spot in Glamis where people kind of all congregate at the bottom of the hill and then just rip up this steep, whooped out sand dune. But it's a social thing and everybody gathers around and everybody does that.
These guys are from Israel. They watch Dirt Trax.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So I started launching off this wind lip, and it was pretty cool. It's a little scary coming up to the face of it and dropping off into basically the unknown. All you can see is the sky while you're climbing up to it. So that was pretty cool. But after I hit those jumps a few times, it's like, let's go find bigger jumps. So we went on a mission to find the biggest jump we could find.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
The thing about Glamis, though, the thing about any sand dune is that you can't just ride in a straight line. You have to follow the contours of the dunes to get where you're going. And you know, you often can't see what's on the other side of a dune as you're running up the edge of it. So when there's lots of people in Glamis, you need to be careful. But what's interesting about this area is that it's so big that even though there was tons of people there, it's really not that busy once you're further out into the dune areas. So, you know, we were quite a ways out, and it was just an awesome experience to get faster railing on the edges of the dunes, railing along these huge bowls that were almost as big as you could see. They went right up into the horizon when you're at the bottom. Finally found the jump we were looking for. The run up to the face of this jump was 100 and something feet, and it was almost straight up. So when you're running up the face of the jump, you can't see anything but sky. You have no idea where you're headed. You have no idea where you're going to land. You can't even see the takeoff, really. You're just holding this razor full throttle up the face. It was a really fun time. It was definitely a good way to test out the dynamic smart suspension. In that suspension is unbelievable. You can have it set to full soft, and as soon as you hit the face of the jump and you're airborne, it puts all the shocks to full hard automatically, and it just cushions your landing. It's crazy how good that works. Been out in the dunes for a couple hours, and it was hot, and we were getting pretty overheated. So we thought, let's head back to the RZR Village and check out some of the giveaways. And anybody who's been to a Camp RZR event knows that Polaris just dumps prizes on the people who are attending. I mean, every one of their sponsors and partners donates tons of stuff. You got Fox shocks and stereos and race radios and anything you can think of, tire and wheel packages, and they're just giving them away. You didn't even have to pay to register, so it literally is free if you win. They also always give away some razors. I've seen them give away, I think, 4 one year. It was pretty impressive, but this is the 10-year anniversary of RZR, so it had to be bigger. This year, they were going to give away 10 razors. One of the cool events on day 2, I thought anyway, was get a show and shine. And when you're in Glamis, one thing you get really used to seeing is incredibly trick vehicles, from $100,000 sand rails, tricked out ATVs, and of course, obviously, fully customized razors. Walking around these vehicles, it's unbelievable the level of craftsmanship that goes into them, customization that goes into them. I mean, some of them are obviously hand-built, they're beautiful, but what also is kind of amazing is the amount of aftermarket support there is for these vehicles, because a lot of them are built, they're custom, but they're built from parts that anybody can buy. At 7 o'clock, everybody began gathering back at Camp RZR Village because it was the big show. The evening festivities were when all of the razors were going to be given away. People were pumped. Generally at Camp RZR, they have a band, and the second night's festivities are a concert, but this year they did things differently. People who were registered for the event sent in videos of them singing karaoke that they whittled down to just 6 for the second day's final show. So these 6 people got up on stage, and they were judged on crowd interaction, obviously how good they were at singing. It was so much different than a regular concert, but so much more entertaining as well. And it was nice to hear the stories of the people who were up there, you know, see the talent that was included in the attendees of Camp RZR. After they whittled down the 6 semifinalists to the 2 finalists, Jolissa and Mark, Jolissa had just an incredible voice. Great singer. She really had a good stage presence. You know, she was having so much fun. And then, you know, Mark was this older guy, kind of a cowboy, and he had a really touching story about his wife.
Listen to me, because this hits home. My wife was diagnosed 2 weeks ago with breast cancer, and it's okay. We're all right. We will get through this.
He was promoting getting checked and making sure your family members are being checked. And if through him being on stage promoting breast cancer awareness saved one life, that he didn't care if he won a RZR, he was already a winner. And I was like, Polaris is going to give this guy a RZR whether he wins or not. After all the singing was said and done, Jolissa and Mark came back up on stage, and Jolissa won because she was the best singer. It was cool to see her genuine excitement as she won this RZR, and she had to work for it. But as I had suspected,
because they loved your story and you gave it everything you got, you were going to get a RZR as well.
The final event of Camp RZR, the way it worked was people were called from the crowd, randomly picked and called from the crowd, and they went up on stage and stood in front of a cooler. And on the inside of the cooler lid was the prize that they could win. And in this case, they were giving away 4-seat dynamic RZRs, 2-seat dynamic RZRs, standard RZRs. They gave away audio systems. They had a $5,000 gift certificate for 4-wheel parts. Or even if you didn't win a RZR, you still went home with something pretty amazing. Tons of people went home with stuff, but most importantly, everybody went home with awesome memories. Everybody who was there was a part of celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Polaris RZR, of the vehicle that started the sports side-by-side industry, of the vehicle that started this brotherhood of RZR riders.
Yeah, the next 10 years for Camp RZR, who knows where it's going to go. It's continued to get bigger and bigger. We see no signs of it slowing down. We want to continue to be here year over year, and hopefully this is the start. You know, this is year 10 of 100 to come from Camp RZRs.
You guys have a great night at Camp RZR.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Power Sports, race-inspired performance.
Winter's coming, it's not negotiable. And for all of you who know what I mean and are dreading the hours of back-breaking shoveling, wait a minute, we're off-roaders. We don't shovel snow. And the ultimate stick-it-to-winter rig is undoubtedly the Polaris RANGER Northstar with HVAC. Yeah, this baby comes fully equipped with heat, AC, and a full hard cab. So what's it gonna take to conquer the driveway? Not a whole lot with the help of Kimpex and a few key accessories. One gripe about the Northstar is that it didn't come from the factory with a winch. Now thankfully a KFI winch plate and a Kimpex 4,500 pound winch fit in like they did come from the factory. The RANGER Northstar has a simple winch location and it all goes in quick and easy thanks to the KFI RANGER winch mount plate. It's straightforward and it doesn't get any simpler than this. The 4,500 pound Kimpex winch with synthetic rope is strong and it's built with a steel drum, 6-gauge wiring, and 6mm or 3/16 synthetic rope. It pulls a full 4,500 pounds in and over the aluminum Haas fair lead. One really nice feature is the wireless remote that'll allow you to raise or lower the plow on the fly without reaching for a dash switch. You can also jump out to adjust the plow angle and take the remote with you when you do it. Obviously the next step is a plow, but what plow do you pick? What push frame do you use? And what mounting bracket are you going to choose? There's a lot of options and it can get pretty confusing. CLICK-NGO 2 is a plow system that takes the guesswork out of the equation. With a mount kit for just about every brand of side-by-side or ATV, you'll be sure to find the right fit, and they all work with the CLICK-NGO 2 frame and plow. Mounting is simple and has been designed to reduce the typical ground clearance loss you'll find with many other plow systems. Next up is the plow push frame, and this part truly does a lot of the heavy lifting, and it allows the CLICK-NGO system to, well, click and go. The frame also allows for more than just easy mount up. It incorporates the 5-position foot actuated tilt. It's an easy to use system because you don't have to get your hands frozen by messing around with a latch or a lever. You just lift the plow with the winch and give the foot pedal a push, then you can slide the plow to the angle you desire. The CLICK-NGO 2 system can use a wide variety of plows. There's 5 in total that range from 50 inches all the way up to 72, meaning that you can tailor your plow to the size of the job you're doing. Not everyone needs a 72-inch plow. Likewise, many folks are looking for something bigger than 50 inches, and that's why CLICK-NGO offers 50, 54, 60, 66, and a full 72-inch plow. They're made from 11-gauge steel and are all 17 inches high to maximize the amount of snow that you can push. They feature an integrated handle to allow easy maneuvering when you mount the plow up to the side-by-side, and because of the higher blade pivot point and the compact design, the plow can be lifted up to 16 inches above ground, which is 6 to 8 inches higher than most other plow systems. And because we're also using the plow block-off plates at the end, it means you can push a whole heck of a lot more snow. Now when you're moving heavy snow all winter long, stock tires may not be your best friends, especially if your rig has seen a lot of running and the stock tires are getting a little short. ITP's Mud Lite 2s are a great all-around tire that do just about anything. Sure, they have the name Mud in them, but they're my pick in the do-all category. While the original Mud Lite was hugely popular, the Mud Lite 2s bring new stabilizing cords to help reduce tire flex and incorporate a completely new tread layout to help the tire clear out debris and gain the most traction. We went with the 27s to help us gain a little clearance over the stock 26s. When we put tires on a vehicle, we always love to mate them up to a slick-looking set of rims, and in this case, it's the ITP SD dual bead locks. With a lifetime warranty, aluminum lightweight design, and a true dual bead lock, we know that our tires are staying put with zero rim slippage, ever. And at 14, they're gonna look pretty incredible when pushing snow. Preparing for winter is just a fact for a huge percentage of off-road riders. And if you've got an ATV or a side-by-side in your garage and you're not using it to do the heavy lifting, it's probably time that you make your rig work for its rent.
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
I think there's two different types of misunderstanding. The first one is where something is hard to understand and therefore a lot of people get it wrong. The second one is where something simply isn't as it seems. Textron Off-Road's Prowler EV IS is definitely the latter. Sure, at first glance you're going to think, as I did, that it's just a glorified jacked up golf cart. And you'd deserve some forgiveness if this was your first thought. I mean, Textron does own E-Z-GO golf carts, and the Prowler EV does resemble one and have some similar features. But the truth is, this vehicle is absolutely not a glorified golf cart. Other than the seats and the plastic hood, it's a completely different vehicle, top to bottom. So what is it then? Unlike other electric side-by-sides, say like a Polaris RANGER EV, the Prowler EV is not meant to be an electric replacement for your gas-powered utility side-by-side. The Prowler is meant to be a tool, used for getting specific jobs done in places where being silent and producing no emissions is either beneficial or necessary. Take, for example, a hunter. Getting into one of your favorite hunting zones undetected can be one of the most challenging aspects of the entire hunt. Any gas-powered vehicle is going to create beaucoup noise, potentially scaring away all of your prey. The Prowler EV's nearly silent operation is the perfect solution. But wait, you might be saying, sure it can get me in quietly, but how am I supposed to pull a moose out of the bush with a golf cart? The Prowler EV's 72-volt dual motor system puts out a combined 38 horsepower. To put that in perspective, a Honda Rubicon 500 only puts out 28. That's 10 horsepower more for the EV. It's also capable of hauling up to 400 pounds on its convertible rear cargo bed and towing up to 1,000 pounds with its full-size 2-inch hitch receiver. So, getting in undetected is not an issue, and getting your game out is also not an issue. The Prowler EV is built on a solid tubular steel frame with a full cab-ready roll bar. The IS version also rolls on a very unique, fully independent suspension system. The regular EV has McPherson struts up front and a solid axle with leaf springs out back. The IS version has struts up front and struts out back. Like I said, unique, but very capable. Dual 72-volt motors, one on each end, run power through open diffs front and rear. Now, I haven't had a lot of time in this thing, but let me tell you, in performance mode, when you stab the throttle, wheel spin is abundant. Two power modes give you the ability to either travel up to 24 miles on a single charge at 16 miles per hour in max range mode, or up to 24 miles per hour in max speed mode. A regenerative braking system feels a lot like engine braking on a standard side-by-side, but is complemented by four-wheel hydraulic disc brakes with steel-braided lines. In terms of amenities, I will say the Prowler EV is a bit sparse. Seating is pretty basic. The dash includes a battery level meter, on-off switch, power mode switch, light switch, and a parking brake release switch, as well as a locking glove box, but that's about it. Out back is another bench seat that folds flat into a cargo bed, a 2-inch hitch receiver, and the whole package is rounded out with LED headlights and 25-inch Carlisle Trail Pro tires. Overall, I have to say I've been very impressed with the Prowler EV. Like so many others, my expectations of this vehicle were based on an incorrect understanding of what the vehicle actually is. Is it fast? No. Even in max speed mode, it's not breaking any records, but it does get you where you need to go, and it's definitely not slow. Does it handle amazing? No, not really, but it doesn't have to because it's not meant for sport riding, and again, it's not overly fast. Does it provide a long list of creature comforts? No. But to do what it was designed to do, it really doesn't need them. So what is it? Simply put, the Prowler EV IS is a legitimate, specialized off-road vehicle designed from the ground up for people who need near-silent operation but don't want to sacrifice capability. It's designed for American outdoorsmen, and it's built by them too. It's quite possibly everything you had no idea you actually needed. It is its own animal and basically has no competition, and everyone here at Dirt Trax TV absolutely loves it in its element. There is one thing I know for absolute sure though. This is not just a lifted golf cart.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation, Can-Am, the ride says it all, and by Textron Off-Road, driven by the bold.
This segment is just the start for you. Click the subscribe button and become part of the Dirt Trax Nation, where you'll have access to tons of great content from all of the years past of our great stories, trail techs, and test rides.